Welcome everybody to Conscious Being, Conscious Living, an exploration with your host, Eva Pandit. Today, we are talking about what change have you been asking for? And there's a follow up question or a couple follow up questions I have for you with that. Is it showing up for you? And also, what's keeping you from having what you're asking for? This is going to, I know, blend into this conversation and this topic around defending and avoiding that is quite new and quite current in access consciousness. So you can also think of this show as kind of like a crash course in what's new. You're welcome. Now, the thing is that for anything to stick to you or for anything to not work out or show up in your life, because one of the truths in the universe is that ask and you shall receive. But if you're asking for something and it's not showing up and you're like, what the hell? This is total metaphysical mumbo jumbo. Then, my friend, this show is exactly for you because we will be looking into what's really going on underneath that. In order for something to stick to us, typically there's one thing happening. There's a simultaneity of two related points of views that you're defending and or avoiding around whatever it is that you're looking at. So let's say money. You can also replace this with relationships or your business or body and your own experience with embodiment and the possibilities you're aware of around all of these topics. So the thing to look at is that if you're looking at changing any part of your life and it's been hard or a struggle or it hasn't been changing or it's taking way too long, this might be something worth exploring. That chances are that there are these points of views that you're simultaneously avoiding and defending that are holding this in place. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of times, what occurs is we say that we'd like to have something, but then underneath that, there's all this different energy that's not congruent with what you're asking for. And all of these incongruent energies are coming from your own points of views. So while you might be asking for a great relationship, or you might be asking for a greater financial reality, or you might be asking for changing something that's painful for you, physically, emotionally, or at any level. Now, if there's any struggle and if it's hard or if it's not ease at the very least, chances are that there's some point of view that you're, and likely many points of views that you're defending and avoiding that are holding that stuckness in place. Because if there wasn't any conflict energetically involved, you wouldn't be stuck. You could just choose different. But a lot of times, the reason we are not choosing different is because of these subconscious, these, non cognitive, unacknowledged points of views that you may not even cognitively be aware of that are creating this conflictual energy that's keeping you from having what you're asking for. So let's say, for example, in the example of a greater financial reality, you could actually look at what is it that I'm asking for here? What is it that I'd like to create in my life? And what points of view do I have right now that I'm defending that are keeping me from having this? Because if truly universe, this was a free will universe, like if really there is choice available to everyone and everybody anywhere in your life that you're feeling choiceless, like you do not have a choice to do something else, to choose something different, chances are there's something you have bought to be true and real for you that isn't. Because remember, that which is real, that which is true for you, will always have a sense of lightness to it. And so, that whatever area you're looking at changing in your life right now, notice if there's more lightness and expansiveness in that energy and in that space, or are there more dense energies and more contraction in that area when you look at it? Chances are it's more the latter, right? So, what points of view do you have that you're defending that's keeping that in place? Do you have a point of view that this is not possible for you, or it's a good idea? I would like to have it, but do you really know that you can? Or is there something around that which is not really congruent fully with your asks? So, the invitation of this question, what am I defending that's keeping me from having this? Or what am I defending that's keeping this energy I'd not like to have in existence? And also simultaneously look at what am I avoiding here? What points of view am I avoiding? What different way of being am I avoiding? What power and potency I be am I avoiding that's keeping this in place? And just clear the energy underneath that. Now, I have studied psychology for 5 years. Literally, I thought that that's finally, if I were to become a psychologist, this field will give me all the answers and I will have exactly the answers I need to create a life that I love. Obviously, isn't it? Like, it's scientific, it should work. Only that after 5 years of studying psychology, I still found myself to be really, really miserable and super depressed. I was still going to the therapists and nothing was making sense. I felt like I'm just sitting on a couch, actually a chair in my case, and just blabbering. And it's not really, I'd feel momentarily better, but it's not really creating any change that I'm asking for. And so I went on to this exploration, or rather, like this curious look out for there has to be something different. There has to be something else available. There has to be a different way to approach change, to approach having of what is it that I'd like to have. There has to be something different. Or what's the point? And because in psychology, what you will find is a lot of why you are where you are, but not a lot or not much or not something that actually works on how can I change it? Yes, there's therapy, and don't get me wrong, I've been there. I do not by any way discourage anyone from going to therapy if that's working for you, but that's the key element to look at. Is it working for you? Is what you're doing, the way you're approaching things, is it working for you? And if not, are you fucked up? Or is there something else available that you're aware of that works for you? And that's the exploration here. And so these tools, this awareness on avoidance, the simultaneity of avoidance and defense, like defending a point of view while avoiding a point of view, two related points of view. So, for example, if whatever you're looking at changing, the point of view you're defending is that I'm wrong or I'm fucked up because this is what's my reality right now. Like, I must be wrong. That's for a lot of us, that's like one of our most primary points of views we're defending all the time. I'm wrong. Like, we, at the very core of our being, believe there's something wrong with us. And then we go about defending that we're not by proving, by wanting to do it right, by making sure we're good. Because underneath all that energy is this really core belief that I'm not. And so, what point of view are you defending? And any of those points of views that you're defending, that I'm not good, that I can't, or that I don't want to, any of those energies that are creating contraction in your universe and not expansion, if you look at it and if you go by that simple tool that what's light is what's true for you, what's heavy is a lie, is any of that which you're defending light? Or is it heavy and contractive? And so, in order for you to defend something, there has to be something about that that's not even true in the first place. Like, would you ever, like, for example, for me, I have black hair. Would I ever go about defending that I have black hair? And if you have blonde hair, that's blonde for you, or whatever color hair, or no hair, would you go about defending that which you know is? No. What would you defend for? Underneath that defense is definitely some lie that you've bought in as real and true. So, most of these points of views that we're defending in that conflictual universe equation, so basically anything that you'd like to have, if it's not there in your life, or if there's a struggle going on, there's a conflict going on, like a conflictual universe around points of views that you're defending and simultaneously points of views that you're avoiding. And in that defense and avoidance, that's what creates your struggle. And so most of the points of views that you're defending are all lies. The lies that you have bought in as real and true that are not. Because the truth, what's true, does not require a defense for it, right? Like the sun is going to rise up from east tomorrow morning. Do you need to defend that? Or can you just know it? Right? So in order for you to have an energy of defense, being defensive about like proving something for or against, defending some for something or defending against something, there's something underneath that that's a lie that you're defending. And then the other side of it, which is the points of views you're avoiding. Now, funny as it might be and crazy as it might be, most of us are avoiding that which is the gift of us, that which is the lightness of us, the space of us. Because space and lightness doesn't feel like anything. It's none of those, low vibrating frequencies that we feel in our body sometimes, that we call feelings like sadness. It doesn't feel like anything. That which is light, that which is space, is something that you can perceive. And so a lot of what we're avoiding is that, choosing that. And notice also for a second here, on a side tangent, but a related one, that what is it that you would like to have? What change have you been asking for? What's the energy underneath all that? Is the change you're asking for creating, and when you have that, what energy does that create in having of that change? Does it create more space, lightness, and expansion in your universe? Or is it contractive? Probably not, right? Probably, and I can almost say for sure, the change that you're asking for is going to create more for you. And that more feels like nothing. And and when I'm saying nothing, it doesn't mean it's blank, but there's no density and intensity to it. There's no trauma to it. No, wait, I said that incorrect. There's no trauma to it and no drama to it. It's not intense like that. It's spacious. And so what a lot of us are avoiding is exactly that, exactly the space that we're asking for. Because that which is heavy, that which is dense, can appear to be more solid, more real, more true. The question is it? Because what does science tells us? Science, amazing science, which has also been bastardized so much in our modern times. And when I say bastardized, I mean made less than what it truly is. Science tells us when you look under the molecule, under the microscope, the molecular structure of anything consists of this tiny nucleus and a lot of space. And that nucleus is what's creating like that density that you actually see from your naked eye under the microscope. That is what? Just 2% of that entire structure? Everything else is space. We don't see it, but we perceive it. We know that it exists. So, where are you making the densities and intensities that you're defending and fighting for or against more real, more significant, more true than the lightness and the space of possibilities you're aware of and you're asking for? What change are you asking for, and what energy is that change? So, I invite you to look at that. I invite you to look at, this whole thing from let's actually invent a home play here, something for you to play with from this call, right? So look at whatever it is that you'd like to change. Doesn't matter what area it is. It could be a financial reality, your physical reality, I mean, your reality with your body. It could be your relationship or anything basically that is sticking you. And then would you be willing to sit down, be with the energy? Again, a huge red flag here. What we do, what we do is we tend to engage with things from our mind, but our mind is only capable of what it already knows. That which you're asking for is something else. It's way outside of your mind. So, for a second, we're just going to keep our mind out of the equation and look at the whole thing energetically. So, whatever it is that you're asking for, look at the energy of it. And now ask yourself, what points of views do I have? Oh, what points of views am I defending that's keeping me from having this? And look at the energy that comes up. And would you be willing to destroy and uncreate that energy that came up? Then look at also what points of view am I avoiding that are keeping me from having this? And look at the energy that comes up. And would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all that? And allow yourself to receive it. Receive the letting go of it, the letting go of those energies that come up. There's a very particular way in which we do that in Access Consciousness using the clearing statement. If you're interested in knowing more about that, I encourage you to go check out theclearingstatement.com, where Dr. Dane here, the co-creator of Access Consciousness, does a brilliant job of explaining how it works. But basically, in a nutshell, what a clearing statement does is instead of approaching it, anything that you're looking at, instead of approaching it cognitively through your mind, the clearing statement literally energetically takes you back to the point at which you created that limitation for yourself. And in the creation of it, you destroyed the power and the potency you be. You let go of some of you, like you, an infinite being. In order for you to create a limitation, you've got to let go of some of you to buy a limitation as true. So the clearing statement, what it does is it woof, bang on, targets the energy underneath whatever it is you're looking at and changes that. So check that out, play with it, see what that creates, be with this awareness that there's something that you're defending and avoiding simultaneously, like uh, some related points of views around whatever it is you'd like to change that isn't changing or is a struggle right now. There's something that you're defending and something that you're avoiding. And chances are that that which you're defending is basically a limitation or a lie you're telling yourself. And that which you're avoiding is the power, the potency, the gift of you, of what's truly you, the being, the limitless being. So play with that. And if you're interested in really diving deep with this conversation, I have a foundation class coming just next week. We start on Wednesday, and you're warmly invited. If it's your first, your second, your 10th foundation, I've done this class, I don't know how many times, I've lost count, but you're warmly invited to come join me. The link would be in details somewhere around this video. And other than that, just explore and wonder What are the possibilities you are aware of and have always been aware of, or do you know is possible? And what if it's true? What if it is possible? What else is possible that you haven't considered? So, thank you for tuning in today. I'm so grateful to have your presence here. You're warmly invited to check out any of my upcoming programs, and I will see you here next week or in one of these places. Thank you so much for tuning in. And how does it get any better than this?